Kodwa-ke imigomo nemibanzela ekubhadala wona-ke umthelo ingaba lukhuni kuyiconza kulabo-ke lababhadala-ke umthelo nalabo-ke labawubhadalisako kufike-ke esigabeni lapho kungasavunyelwana khona. Ungabe unayo-ke indzaba lethingeke kukhulunyiswa lethinza-ke umthelo wakho lapho ungasaboni ngaliso linye naloyo-ke lokubhadalisa-ke umthelo. Hlanganyela nathi-ke ehlelweni embili kanye njalo ngelisonto ngensimbi yesithupha kusihlwa lapho khona-ke inkampani i-Eswatini Revenue Appeals Tribunal lokuliphiko lahulumende ngaphasi-ke kwelitiko-ke letemafa lolubuke tona tindzaba tekucatulula lapho kungasabonwa ngaliso linye emkhathisini wemtheli nemthelisi. Kulolu hlelo lenkampani itabe ichazela emaswati ukuthi sifakwa njani-ke sicelo lapho khona-ke ufisa-ke kusitakala uma ungasaboni ngeliso linye naloyo-ke lokuthelisako. Letindzaba leti sitabe sitikhulumisa-ke ehlelweni embili kanye kusukela mhla titine enyangeni yengci kulo mnyaka losetulu kuya-ke kumhla tinge-27 enyangeni yembala kuwo lo mnyaka. Luhlelo embili kanye lingena ngensimbi yesithupha kusihlwa njalo ngelisonto kanti ungaphinde ulibukele-ke ku-YouTube channel yethu @Eswatini TV.
It's 8 minutes after 6. Good morning and welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you for waking up with us. Lamuhla, it is the 26th of November 2024. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Temperatures la pembabana nje atawphakama afika with 34 degrees Celsius. Actually, the whole week nje kuyashisa. I'm going. How are you this morning?
Doing very well, Lulu. Really concerning weather patterns. Let's see, wabonago. Yes, Kusile we saw 34 degrees Celsius. That was the highest. Lomuhla tabang 32 degrees. That's going to be the highest temperature. But then tomorrow, Dayagu 18 degrees with some showers that I expected. So again,
finally some showers.
Climate change.
Yeah.
Well, we can be happy that finally there are some showers, but we also want to be concerned about just the pattern. Yeah. This is not common at all.
It's not
the
common.
The fact that it's summer. Anyway, it's a very good morning indeed. It's going to be a beautiful day this Tuesday. We do hope that you will be tuned into Eswatini TV for this program, for the duration of this program, as well as the many other enjoyable programs that Eswatini TV offers you. My name is Sifiso Ngumala. Really happy to be with you this morning.
Yeah, kunjalo mbukele ba still in the month of November. Itolo takumla ukuthi lihovisi leliphini landvuna nkhulu kanye netinhlangano nje letiningi letitsintseka kwetindzabeni te-GBV lesukumisa umkhankaso wokucetha kuhlukubetana ngetebulili 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Namhla sesichubeka nje ngaleyo ndzima leyo sibuka tona tindzaba te-GBV. Njengoba kuvela nje ukuthi lo nyaka sicubulo noma ke umlayeto lokhanjwa ngawo uthi let's unite to end violence against women and children. Umbiko wemaphoyisa nelhovisi la ka-DPM uthi yamnyakeni wa 2023 imibiko ye-GBV yabikwa yaba ngu-18,000 ama-cases lawo kuyafaka ekhathi kanye nebantfwana labancane ikakhulu kade nje labo labadzingile noma ke labaphuyile lapha eveni. Inhlangano ke World Vision Eswatini ngilenye inhlangano letiningi lapha eveni letinakekela abantfwana labadzingile noma ke labahlukubetekile. Lungilezwane Communications and Campaign Manager ka World Vision utasichazela kabanti ukuthi ngitiphi tinhlelo bona labatendako kuhlangabetana nabo labantfana laba ikakhulu kade nje sisagubha lo 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
Yeah, we also want to take a look into the complexities as well as some of the opportunities that have come with the latest development under the Central Bank of Eswatini. What we saw really interesting figures with inflation on a downward trajectory as well as interest rates reduced to their lowest in recent times. We want to understand what this means for your household, what it means for your business as well as our broader economy. Siliva Lagangwan and Sanel SBA is going to join us to dissect some of these figures as well as understand these developments. As our economist and our analyst with his sharp insights want to break down some of these implications. Interest rate reduced by a discount rate to 7%. Inflation, headline inflation decreased by 3.3% in October 2024 from 3.6% in September 2024. What does this mean is the big question. Banks are expected expected to, in fact, reduce their prime lending rate on loans expected to individuals as well as to businesses to 10.5% in the next monetary policy meeting. What to expect? The Central Bank of Eswatini expects the cost of goods and services to increase moderately in the year 2024, and the CBE also revised its inflation focus for 2024 to 4.02% from 4.2% forecasted in September 2024. So we want to understand if we should be happy and how long should we be happy for, and some of the smarter decisions that we can make as these numbers coincide with both Black Friday as well as the December holidays, which come with a lot of demands on your pockets. Perhaps it's such a good time to see these numbers being reduced. Sanele Spear is going to help us understand this whole economic activity.
Yeah, that's right. Stay tuned for that interview right now. As when I deal at Mbili, Guma Pepanzabalomla. All right, starting at 8 times of Eswatini, your leading headlines this Tuesday morning. Mbili, medical drugs, corruption, civil servant earning 25,000 Amalangeni buys 1.5 million car, pays 50% deposit cash, implicated officials beyond their means, audit report says. PAC recommends asset freezing under POCA. Health sector says heads must rule to restore health sector integrity. In other news, pastor wife held for 177,000 in Malangeni Daha. Yeah, quite interesting. In other news, advocate, lawyer jailed for 7 days, and girlfriend allowances are a headache for men.
You know what girlfriend allowance? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's in
Oh. But our patron struggle labagnene siyabavela siyabancistela. Kuwela mbili sibukete imidlalo Times of Eswatini, no plans to sign Cristiano Ronaldo according to MOU, and Wesleyans are in bid to strike off Bucks appeal. This is another appeal that has been lodged in the ongoing relegation saga involving the Harp Giants, Manzini Wanderers, who filed a notice of application at the Supreme Court yesterday. Another story, Birds MC withhold sprinter kit. This is in a dramatic handover. Princess Lungile official takes over after a highly charged meeting yesterday by the Mbabane Swallows.
All right, sinasibuka Eswatini Observer kuletha mbili this Tuesday. Sikubela mbili phase 2 crisis. Come, let's talk. Kusho National Commissioner of Police. The National Commissioner of Police opens up on the controversy surrounding junior police's salary review and calls for talks. He reveals government consultant already working on issue. Firm to retrench 100 employees, and government spokesperson warns against name calling.
I am done with Sihlangu, according to Loga. That is the unceremonious departure by the Sihlangu head coach Zdravko Logarasic. The Eswatini Football Association faces an urgent challenge to find a new coach for the national team, Sihlangu Semnigati. This after Loga resigned with immediate effect. Really didn't expect this, but here we are. On another one, Minister Chauka shines in Previk golf tournament, and Shiba hails new sporting director. Anzeke Sikali hits double figures in Golden Boot race. Zabayeqina speaks to the Mbabane Swallows crisis that deepens. Dissatisfied Swallows FC storm out of meeting after heated arguments. Outgoing President Ngwenya says they are leaving with club assets, and Princess Lungile representative promises swift resolution.
All right, so moving on to the Eswatini Daily News. Shakantu faced 124 million debt after Gamete's passing. Savvy businessman Michelle Shakantu made a significant gesture by taking on a massive 124 million debt from Stage 1 Connections. In other news, government condemns misinformation campaigns against the Prime Minister.
Yeah, siqhubekela embili sibukete imidlalo ku Eswatini Daily News lomuhla. Bird's MC officially hand over power to Princess Lungile. Emotions run high in 2-hour meeting as outgoing management committee hands over everything to late chairman Victor Maradona Gametsa's wife, Princess Lungile, yesterday. Birds leopard in epic first-round carrot battle, and Flick says Barca must eliminate mistakes after stumble.
All right. Ngiletoiletha mayimbili kumaphephandaba. It's 10 minutes after 6. Asiselikhefu siyabe khona manje.
A show where we interview inspirational young professionals who are making a real impact in their industries and reshaping our world. This is Young Climber.
My dream and my mission is to be a tangible example of a dream realized. You don't choose where you are born, of course, but you decide where you end up.
Our conversations spark ideas, fuel ambition, and elevate your career path. These are the stories that change your perspective on life, conversations that shape entrepreneurs and move careers forward. If you are serious about your career development, you can't afford to miss this show. Join me, Tabelo Dlamini, every Tuesday at 6:30 for Young Climber, where every episode could be your next big breakthrough.
Asibenze sinemukele siyakuvusela nawe nosanze kuzivulela natiti indzaba. Umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini uhlanganyele nesive sema Asante esidlweni sakusihlwa sekukhumbula iminyaka lelikhulu inkosi Nana Akiyemang Prempeh wekucala yabuya ekuthengisweni eSeychelles. Lo mcimbi bewungenelwe nayinkosi yama Asante Odumufo Osei wesibili, mengameli weGhana Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, izinyana umphanenkosi Lindani nemphanenkosi Simelane kanye namengameli weSeychelles Wavell. Lo mcimbi bewubanjelwe esigodlweni eKumasi eGhana.
Kulesidlo sanzambama kuvelile ukuthi buhlobo belive leSeychelles neGhana angeke buphele ngalaba kwenda ngesikhathi inkosi Phempe wekucala ihledi kulela live isekudzingisweni. Inkosi Prempeh yadzingiswa kulela live leSeychelles ngemuva kwekuboshwa ngemangisi lebekafuna kweba ligolide eveni lema-Asante.
And his life and legacy also tells us how individuals can forge huge relationships, even unwittingly. Today, we are hosts to the President and the First Lady of the Republic of Seychelles. The center in the Seychelles has meant that people of Seychelles and the people of Ghana are linked and bonded together for all time. We have a lot to give to each other. And when we do so, we always will remember the life, the sacrifice, and the legacy of the incredible friends.
LeSwatini libongwe yinkosi yesive sema-Asante Otumfuo Osei Tutu wesibili ngekukhombisa kuba munye ngekuba ingcenye yalomcimbi.
Kingdom of Eswatini, once known as Swaziland, or the Switzerland of Africa, is the only constitutional monarchy in Sub-Saharan Africa. King Eswatini assigned his prime minister, the head of government, the two of his princes, all ministers in the government, to represent him at the commemoration of the return of King Prempeh Professor. They have come to honor the reality of African history, the brotherhood of African kingdoms, and their common exploits from colonial adversity for the free states we have today. We do not invent history. We are made of history meaningful leadership of the brotherhood.
Mhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini wendlulise tilokotfo letibuya eSwatini.
Majesty, the King of Eswatini has very fond memories of you because of the time that you spent together with him in your last visit, which you made several years ago. And he has committed to return this kind gesture by visiting you here in your kingdom in the very near future. Your Majesty, I do wish to convey King Swatini III, the Queen Mother, the government and the people of the Kingdom of Eswatini would like to wish you best wishes as we celebrate these 100 years of the return of Nana Akema Krempe I, the Asante Ene, from his period of exile in the Seychelles.
Ndvunankhulu lobekamelele ingwenyama uthi live leSwatini kusamele likhulise buhlobo nekubambisana neGhana kuze kusitakale bantfu baletive letimbili. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela ngiseKumasi eGhana.
Kanti ngakulokunye umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini lizinyane umfanenkosi Lindane kanye nomfanenkosi Simelane bangenele inkonzo yokukhumbula inkosi Prempeh wekucala. Lenkonzo bengenelwe na inkosi yama Asante Otumfuo Osei Tutu wesibili kanye namengameli waseGhana Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Kanti bebanjelwe St Cyprian's Anglican Cathedral edolobheni iKumasi eveni leGhana. Lenkonzo ilandzelwe isidlo sasemini lapho timenywa titfole nelitfuba lokujayiva nenkosi yesive sema Asante.
Lenkonzo lekhetsekile beyikade ingenelwe nasigodlo sesive sema Asante siholwa yinkosi yaso Otumfuo Osei Tutu wesibili. Kule nkonzo livi lenkosi lihlephulwe ngumengameli welive leSeychelles umhlonishwa Wavel Ramkalawan lophindze abe ngumfundisi. Umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini lizinyane umntwanenkosi Lindane kanye nemntwanenkosi Simelane babe yingcenye yalabadla sidlo senkosi. Bukhosi nesigodlo sesive sema Asante sibusisiwe sacelelwa nalokuhle kodwa kumdali. Ngemuva kwenkonzo inkosi Otumfuo Osei Tutu wesibili kanye netimenywa tayo bachubekele esigodlweni eManchia lapho kube nesidlo sasemini. Buholi besive sema Asante bugcizelele ukuthi bulangatelela kufika kwengwenyama eGhana njengobe nabo befika eSwatini eminyakeni leyimfica lendlulile. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela eKumasi eGhana.
Losabambe kuba liphini laNdvunankhulu umhlonishwa Jane Simelane sewusukumise ngalokusemtsetfweni umkhankaso wamalanga langu-16 ekulwa nokuhlukubetana ngetebulili. Umhlonishwa Jane Simelane uthi uhulumende ufake isandla lesibonakalako etinhlelweni tekulwa nokuhlukubetana lapha eveni. Uthi letinhlelo tifaka ekhatsi kusungulwa kwetikhwama letitawucedza buphuya lekungibona bubhebhetela kuhlukubetana.
Lo mkhankaso walonyaka utawatisa sive ngekuhlukubetana ngetebulili ngephansi kwesicubulo lesithi kanye kanye asibambisane sincobe kuhlukubetana ngetebulili.
Government has launched a number of employment creation initiatives in the country so that we can fight issues of poverty, because we've realized that some of the main causes of GBV is caused by poverty.
Asukumisa lo mkhankaso lusabambe kuba liphini laNdvunankhulu umhlonishwa Jane Simelane uthi uhulumende usukumise tinhlelo letiphathekako letingacedza lesimo sekuhlukubetana ngetebulili.
The words and command of His Majesty King Mswati III urging the nation to rise against GBV echo the very, very same command and determination.
Lomelele inhlangano yakamhlaba kuleli George Wachira uthi ke lemibiko yekuhlukubetana ayikho lapha eveni kuphela, kepha-ke nakulamanye emavi ikhona. Uthi kudingeka tisombululo letitawulungela live lakangwane. Uphindze-ke wacela bonke labathintekako ukuthi basebente ngekutikhandla njengoba emakhosi anikete sona sive insayeya yekuthi kuhlukubetana ngetebulili kuphele kuthi nya.
This year's launch of the 16 Days campaign takes place at a time when we read so much in the media about the growing scourge of GBV in Eswatini.
Kirsten Markenberg, lo melele inhlangano yemave alabomhlophe kuleli, uthi-ke kunetinhlelo labatesekele letitawenta-ke ukuthi imimango ifundziseke kabanti ngekugwema kuhlukubetana ngetebulili. Markenberg uthi kunesidzingo sekuthi bafana nabobabe batfole kufundziseka ngenzima lefanele bayidlale ekulweni nekuhlukubetana. Uhulumende usukumise imikhankaso leyahlukene lefaka ikhatsi kuvakashela tonke tinhlangothi kufundzisa ngako kuhlukubetana. Leswatini-ke liphindze laqinisa nemitsetfo lefaka ekhatsi umtsetfo wekulwa nekuhlukubetana ngekwelicasi nelidlame emakhaya SODV kanye nekwakhiwa kwetindzawo letigcina bomake nemantfombatana labahlukubetekile. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni, eMbabane.
Indaba yesikhulu seyichubekisele imbili kudzingidvwa kwetincomo letendile mayelana nembiko wemcwaningi lomkhulu wemabhuku kahulumende wemnyaka wahulumende wa-2022-2023. Lokhu kulandzela kutsi isihlalo waleli komiti umhlonishwa Amadala Mhlanga aphakamise isishukumiso sekuthi kuphasiswe lo mbiko.
Ngamuva kwakuthula isishukumiso sakhe umhlonishwa Amadala Mhlanga longusihlalo waleli komiti emalunga endlaba yesikhulu abese acela ukuthi njengoba umyeni umsebenzi welusuku kanti bafuna kuyidzingidza kahle lendzaba yalombiko babona ngathi sincane isikhathi labatoba naso ngakho bacela umcondzisi wetenkulumo ukuthi ayibukele lelinye lilanga. Umhlonishwa Amadala Mhlanga ubese uyasihocisa lesishukumiso.
Ngicela kulelanga lanamhla speaker ngemvumo yayo indlu kuthi mane le report le ngiyidonse la kodwa paper kumbe mayibuye ihlala indlu sekabukile na speaker kuthi order paper imfishanyana amana angicumselele ngicela kumuva ukuthi ngi withdraw for today honorable speaker.
Bathi bacela ukuthi bayidonse kwanamuhla abahlonishwa mhlawumbe ibukwele lelinye lilanga labavumelana lokho abathi ayi labangavumi bathi nay. The ayes have it and the ayes have it.
Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV ngumbongo Dube nasikhumbuzo Dlamini nasimuva Shongwe Kalobamba.
Litiko letinkhundla selikhumbule eMaswati lasishiya emhlabeni ngenxa yesifo i-AIDS kanye nalawo laphila neligciwane HIV ngemicimbi yokukhanyisa likhandlela i-candle lighting ceremony. Mabhalane lomkhulu wetiko letinkhundla noNhlanhla Dlamini uthi lelanga lihlose kubuka umsebenzi londiwe etinkhundleni ngenhloso yokwehlisa lizinga lekuthelelana leligciwane.
Leli langa lihlose kukhumbula labo labasishiye emhlabeni ngenxa yesifo se-AIDS liphindze likhutsate labo labaphila neligciwane le-HIV kuthi bachubeke kunatha emaphilisi abo.
Ngijabuliswa ngilethini nyaka lekhuluma ngokuthi asesithini inkwe sihloniphe emalungelo sincobe i-AIDS Eswatini. Ngifuna kukhuluma ngalendzaba emalungelo kakhulu. Loko kuthi nana nawe phela know your rights. Ngiliphi lelungelo ta upholder if ungadi nale right yakho yinye nje nangakuta yinye nje ungangitshela ngiphi right yakho. Lihluphe know your rights colleagues, know your rights. Ngiko people are going to trample all over you, all over your head because you don't know your rights. Nathi thina bomake lemakhaya sinawo lamalungelo.
Lobukele hovisi la kaNature kaHoho Chris Maliba uthi lucwaningo labalendile batfole ukuthi emantfombatana lasuka ku-14 weminyaka kuya ku-24 kanye nemadvodza lasuka ku-40 kuya etulu ngibo labatfolakala ukuthi batfola leli gciwane ngelizinga liphakeme.
Sitfolile lokho ukuthi emajaha noma ke bafana abaningi bayaphuma esikolweni eneka ukuthi labanye bayagula so ngiko lokwende ukuthi sithi all our implementing partners lekade indzaba te-HIV and AIDS esifundzeni asihambeni siyoyiteka ngalokujulile lokuthi kubangwa yini lokho ukuthi baphume esikolweni kubangwa yini lokho ukuthi vele le group yabo itholakale ukuthi ine-HIV.
Ngephansi kwelicwaningo lwe-Eswatini HIV Recent Infection Survey lwa-2021 kwavela ukuthi inkundla yasekwaluseni ngiyo lehamba embili ekuthelelaneni leli gciwane le-HIV and AIDS. Lolu cwaningo lwaveta ukuthi lokuthelelana kulokunye kubangelwa ukuthi bantfu bayalalana ngenxa yekweswela nekungabi nelwati lolunyenti ngetindzaba taleli gciwane. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV, kubika Sethabile Mamba, eMbabane.
Emalunga ePhalamende endlini abayesikhulu asakhethe likomiti lemalunga lasikhombisa ukuthi ayobukisisa kahle indzaba yetikhalo letalethwa ePhalamende ngulabafaka ekhasi labo labatiphilisa ngekwakha kabusha loko lokulahliwe bakhiciti kanye netisebenti tetinkampani temaplastiki. Letikhalo talethwa kulandzela ukuthi kutawuvalwa kusebenta kwemaplastiki latsite lapha eveni. Indaba yesikhulu ikhethele likomiti ngemuva kokuthi iphasise isishukumiso selilunga lePhalamende lenkhundla yaseKhubutha umhlonishwa Masiphula Mamba lebesicela ukuthi kulokunye lelikomiti libuyise umbiko endlini mayelana naletikhalo angakapheli emalanga la-14.
Sitekucela ke mhlonishwa ukuthi mhlonishwa Mr Speaker ukuthi imane indlu ike itinike nayo isikhathi ngoba kunemaswati speaker lakhalako lalapha kuma dump sites lalapha la recyclishako nalabutha yona i-waste lakhala ngokuthi mcondzisi abakafiki kahle kubo kwekuthi babe well consulted kulendzaba lena yemaplastic uqhamuke nje sekusingcimu mcondzisi lokumiswa kwawo kanti siyati ukuthi lama carrier bags awakagcini ngaloku kuba kwenda lomsebenzi webu carrier bag kuphela kunebantu mcondzisi labalapha etindzaweni letehlukahlukene labatiphilisa ngalo leplastic.
Kulesishukumiso sakhe umhlonishwa Masiphula Mamba usekelwe ilunga lePhalamende lesenkundleni yasekwaluseni umhlonishwa Sifiso Shongwe kanti umcondzisi wetinkulumo endlini yabayesikhulu umhlonishwa Jabulani Mabuza ubese ucela indlu ukuthi ivotele lesishukumiso kwase kuba ngilapho kukhethwa khona lamalunga lasikhombisa lekulunga lelimelele bomake esifundzeni sakaManzini umhlonishwa Thandeka Mavuso lelimelele bomake esifundzeni sakaHoho umhlonishwa Tanele Magagula umhlonishwa Masiphula Mamba umhlonishwa Wilton Ngambule umhlonishwa Bongani Dlamini umhlonishwa Welcome Dlamini kanye nemhlonishwa Ntando Mkhonda. La malunga kubhekeke ukuthi alethe umbiko endlini angakapheli emalanga la-14. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV ngombongwa Dube, Sikhumbuzo Dlamini, Nasimuva Shongwe, Kalobamba.
Libandla letimvuna tembuso likuphikisile kuhlukana emkhatsini kwelibandla njengoba kukhulunywa etinkhundleni tekuchumana lokukhulunywe ngalokhulumela hulumende Alpheus Nxumalo ukusho lokhu nakakhulumisa indzaba yekonyuselwa umholo phase 2 kwamaphoyisa lasesigabeni lesincane lapho khona lamaphoyisa akhulume emagama langakhombisi inhlonipho ngandvunankulu welive.
Lokhulumela hulumende Alpheus Nxumalo uthi sive siyayilandzelela indzaba yemaholo emaphoyisa lasetigabeni letincane iphase 2. Kanti Nxumalo ubese ukhutsata emaphoyisa ukuthi akanake tindlela tekutfola tisombululo kulendzaba ya phase 2 kunekuthi bachubeke nekukhuluma lokungasiko ngebaphatsi belive.
As government, we have taken time made statements to the effect that anyone that has got evidence to the effect that the Prime Minister of the land is not carrying out his national assignment according to the dictates of the Constitution and the expectations of the appointing authority. That one with that evidence must report the Prime Minister to the law enforcement and investigative agencies that we have as a country. We will not allow political machinations where people are just driving a smear campaign against the Prime Minister.
Kulokunye Nxumalo uphinze wakhulumisa indzaba leyikito tinkhundla tekuchumana ngetinsolo letiphetselene neluhambo lwetindvuna langephandle ema-trips letithi ndvunankulu uyawalela lamanye emalunga elibandla kutsi ahambe ema-trips angephandle. Nxumalo uthi loku akusilo nani liciniso kantsi luhambo lwangephandle lungumsebenti wahulumende lomcoka. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Sethabile Mamba eMbabane.
Kudemidlalo libandla lebelihola licembu leMbabane Swallows selethula ngalokusemthethweni lelicembu ebandleni leliholwa uMpane Nkosi Ilungile Gameze. Lokuthulwa kwaleli cembu kwendeke ithokoza eMbabane Itolo.
Emhlanganweni wamabandla lamabili kuMbabane Swallows lelo belihola leli cembu ngaphambilini kanye nalelo lelabekwa nguMpane Nkosi Ilungile Gameze lihlangene namhla ithokoza ukukhuluma indzaba yokwethula ngalokusemthethweni leli cembu kuye Mpane Nkosi Ilungile Gameze. Nawusachubeka lo mhlangano libandla lebelihola yona iMbabane Swallows phambilini liwushiye ekhatsi lo mhlangano kungavumelani nalabo babathunywa nguMake Gameze. Absalom Ngwenya lebekabambe kuba ngumengameli waleli cembu uthi sabakumnikile Make Gameze leli cembu kodwa-ke kukhona tintfo labangeke bamnike tona lokufaka ekhatsi ibhasi lehamba abadlali kanye nendlu lehlala bona abadlali.
Uthi nasekho kubethu umuntu lotawuphinda abuye ukuthi iMbabane Swallows sikubo le management yabo bani ayisekho kithi sekule nangu chairman wabo Joy Nhleko ibhansi zayithatha yethu ibhansi yethu clubhouse zayithatha.
Mduduzi Hlophe labekamelele yena Make Gameze uthi noma balemungela leli cembu kodwa-ke kusekunyenti lokusamele bakhulume ngako lokutsinza leli cembu futhi-ke uyethemba ukuthi indzaba yokuthi libandla lebelikhona angeke lendele leli cembu phasi njengoba nabo babalenzeli baleli cembu.
Lelikhona laselivele li-appointiwe lengasho lokho ukuthi ngilo nyalo lelisesebuka ama-affairs e-team ngeke ukukhulumisana ngoba phela umuntu lophume itolo ngumuntu onelwadi ngeke ungayiphindze uyothathela kuye akusite lokuthi le ndlela iba kanjani. So sata ukukhulumisana nalo leli bandla leli handovile njalo sengishito kukhona lo kungathi kusesele lapha nalapha. There are loose ends that we need to tie up and I think that will be done. Umsebenzi ke awuphumeleli ngalanga linye nje kuthini ushaywa aba seamless. No.
Kingsley Kwaikuyena ukhulumele badlali.
I'm standing in for the players and we don't have a lot to say because if you say something maybe it will favor team B or team A. So what we want them to know that what is going on is affecting the players. So anything they want to do, they should do it fast.
Icembu kubheka ukuthi liqale kutilolonga njengoba ngempela somvo litobe lidlala umdlalo we-M10 Premier League kanye nelicembu le-Royal Leopard. Lobikela umsakati Eswatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini eMbabane.
Satiphetha ngaleto temidlalo tindzaba tefuthi ekuqala sibahlele emakethe sitabe sichibeke.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 762222000 or dial *007 *3 *7 hash. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
KBS live interview first segment. We want to speak to Sanele Sibiya and understand his insights as well as his expertise on the recent development of the Central Bank of Eswatini, which has reduced the discount rate to 7%, signaling, of course, a notable shift in monetary policy. It's a very, very notable shift if you think about it. We've been seeing a lot of decreases over the past few months as they have been releasing their monetary policy statements, and occasionally inflation has also been revised, and it has also been revised down to 4.02% for the year 2024. And this is all happening while the economy of Eswatini is expected to, of course, moderate to 3.6% growth next year before a significant surge to 8.3% in 2025. Really, really scary numbers and scary figures if you think about it going into the next year as well as the year that follows the next year. A lot of surges that are being forecasted and predicted. But we need to understand the implications of these figures as they are right now, and the ones that are forecasted by the central banks here in Eswatini as well as in South Africa and the globe alike. These figures, of course, reflect not just numbers, but a lot of the stories of businesses navigating tighter credit, households adjusting to shifting costs, as well as policy makers that are, of course, steering through global and regional uncertainty. We talk about regional uncertainty, we talk about global uncertainty, all of that premised under some of the geopolitical issues that we've been seeing, Russia, Ukraine. We've been seeing some political issues as well in Africa that are also taking effect into the costs of the things that we need deemed as basic needs. We do want to understand as the Russia-Ukraine war continues. We've seen what has happened in America. A lot of uncertainty is still there, but amidst all of that, these numbers have decreased. What has been the factor there, the most driving factor towards some of the resilience that we are seeing? Sanele Sibiya wants to make sense of what this all means for Eswatini as he joins us this morning. He's going to join us via a Zoom video link to simplify the complex numbers that we are seeing here, the implications for growth. But perhaps just to, make a brief review, or rather overview of some of these figures. 3.3%, that is headline inflation, that is decreased in October 2024, that is the previous month, as opposed to a 3.6% that we saw in September. So we are seeing there a 0.3% reduction. But what does this mean? That's the big question. Banks also expected to reduce their prime lending rate, and I'm sure some people who have received their salaries have seen this effect, of course, by not a significant reduction, because when we look at these numbers in percentages, you can perhaps come to a certain conclusion, but which is obviously different from what you then see on the actual numbers. Sanele, thank you so much for joining us. He has finally joined us after experiencing a few technical problems, joining us via Zoom. Sanele, a very good morning to you. We get into today, under the premise of the monetary policy by the Central Bank of Eswatini. Inflation and interest rates, of course, making the most topical issue there. Reduction of the interest rate to 7%, citing a decrease in inflation to 3.3%. The big question is, what immediate impact do you foresee this having on Eswatini's economic activities, particularly, let's say, in households as well as businesses?
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo. Good morning to the viewer. So when we are looking at the interest rate and inflation, that's the story that we've been looking at very much this year, because it is quite topical. It's one of the issues that we expected to somehow make or break the economy this year. So right now, what we are seeing is, inflation has come back down to virtually acceptable levels across the globe, and actually for us it's coming down to that lower bound on that spectrum of the target. So what we are hoping this will do after we've seen that cut in interest rate is, we expect business activity to actually improve, because right now we are seeing that people are going to have a bit more money to spend, more especially those who have loans. They're going to have a bit more money to spend right now, because the interest on that loan is going to go down now from, the prime rate is, the prime lending rate will go down from 10.75 to 10.5 right now, with the new interest rate at around 7% or thereabout. So that we are expecting demand to pick a bit, and we are expecting businesses to actually also benefit from this, and we are expecting that households are going to start feeling this much required pressure that we've been asking, that when will households starting to feel that relief in terms of the cost of living pressures and quite a number of other pressures that households are facing. So we are expecting this to have an impact in demand, Mr. Ngumalo, and we do expect somehow another continued cut probably in the next monetary committee meeting, because if you're looking at the indicators with inflation going down to 3.3%, same thing in South Africa, it dipped way below that midpoint of 4.5%. So we are expecting the central bank to do more to stop inflation from going down for so long, because we do need to have inflation within the healthy range of 3 to 6%, and the most optimal point is at 4.5%, which is what we call the optimal range of which we call the midpoint inflation range, Mr. Ngumalo.
Exactly as luck would have it, Sanele, households, enjoying these reductions at a time where there will be Black Friday, but also at a time where it's December holidays. I think people are going to really, really, feel some relief in this very, very important time of the year. But as we also get into inflation, we are seeing some forecasts there for 2024 that have been revised downward. Could this signal sustained price stability, or should we brace for volatility in the coming months?
Thank you. So those inflation figures, Mr. Nxumalo, actually do come on the background that inflation was a global problem. You know, the whole world had a global inflation problem. So right now, we've seen across the globe with the US touching close to that 2.8%, same thing with the UK, and you look into countries like Japan.
Right, we've lost Saneless Bia. Hopefully, we do have him join us once again as he battles his connection that side. But he was speaking on the inflation focus for 2024, which have also been revised downward. You know, the big question was, could this sustained rather price stability, or could this signal rather sustained price stability, or we should, you know, look at volatility in the next coming months? And, you know, he was speaking to the fact of some of the geopolitical issues that we have seen as inflation has been a global issue, a global topic, as to, you know, how it has affected even the revision that we are seeing here at home by the Central Bank of Eswatini. I was really, really keen to hear his full, you know, analysis on that particular front. But we also wanted to understand the economic growth that is also projected to moderate for 3.6% in the year 2024 before accelerating, of course, to 8.3% in 2025. I'm not sure if people really grasp the acceleration here, or rather the surge here. Projection of moderation to 3.6% this year, 2024, before accelerating to 8.3% in 2025. That is economic growth. The big question is, what are the factors driving this growth trajectory, and how realistic are these projections? It sounds rather too ambitious, or, you know, too aspirational, so to speak, for lack of a better term. Is it feasible, or is it not? 3.6 to 8.3% is a significant surge, you know. But also the report mentions something around a slow start in implementing mega projects. But anyway, Sanela Sibia is back. You were speaking on inflation focus for 2024, Mr. Sibia, and you were speaking to the fact that it is not only unique to Eswatini. In fact, it has been a global issue. We have seen from 3.6, or rather, you know, you were speaking on the fact that we have seen a moderation from 3.6% in 2024, and we are seeing an accelerated projection to 8.3% in economic growth in 2025. But, you know, speaking on the fact of inflation and interest rates, please continue on that submission that you are making.
Thank you, Mr. Nxumalo. So, that's the story we've been seeing, and Professor, apologies to the viewer. So that's the story we've been seeing across the globe with regards to the inflation story and, you know, the forecast into 2024. So when we started the year, we saw this very much vigorous and this robust normalization drive, as the central banks would call it, across the globe, where we saw interest rates going up rapidly just to try and contain inflation, which was at levels that we had not seen since the Reagan years. You know, that was quite some 2 or 3 decades ago. So those impacts were expected, or were forecasting they were going to last a bit longer. But we are seeing inflation coming down into the comfortable target ranges across the globe. You know, right now we are very much close to that. So we do expect that inflation for the next year is going to somehow stabilize at around this level. And we do expect this to be a sustained decline or deceleration in prices, Mr. Nxumalo. But what we are keenly waiting to see right now is that whole Russia-Ukraine type of situation, and whether we are going to see yet another escalation and actually probably even going nuclear, or having the whole of Europe coming into that conflict. So that is one of the geopolitical tensions that we are looking out for. But in terms of the economic fundamentals, they are still on a very much relatively good enough footing. And then when you look into the Gaza-Israel conflict, then it would seem we are getting closer and closer to a ceasefire ceasefire deal, because we have it on the news that they will be meeting today. You know, the Gaza officials and the Israeli officials are going to be meeting today to try and see if they can get us closer to a ceasefire deal thereabout. So we expect that component of geopolitical tensions to somehow die down, and we also expect, you know, we are waiting with keen eyes to see what's going to happen in Russia. So we hope that this will be sustained. And further, Mr. Ngumalo, because of that demand story coming out from China, you know, China is the world's second largest economy and the world's largest producer and the world's largest consumer. So what we've been tracking in the Middle in Asia across throughout the year is that weak story of demand within China, and it would seem the Communist Party through its government is really just failing to come up with ways to boost the economy and build it up to that 5% level. So we do expect that demand deficiency to continue driving down prices well into the first quarter of next year, Mr. Ngolo, because it would seem the Chinese government is really failing on that front.
All right, we have navigated inflation and debt in Eswatini. Let's look into growth now. I think what caught my attention the most is the economic growth projections to moderate to 3.6% this year before accelerating to 8.3% next year, 2025. It sounds too ambitious to me, at least, but I do want to understand from your own expertise the factors driving this growth trajectory and how realistic, and I think that's the biggest one, how realistic are these projections?
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo. Yes, I think we've got to first start commend Eswatini for the resilience that we've shown. I mean, getting to levels of 3.6, Mr. Ngumalo, from 4.8 last year, still those are levels that we had not seen in this country over the past 2 decades, since the 1990s. I'm not sure if my math really just makes that 2 decades or 3 decades. But what we've seen is that bit of fiscal consolidation, Mr. Ngumalo. So this year we expect to get to the 3.6 mark because of that fiscal consolidation. We have seen the work we've done around SACCO receipts, and we have seen the stabilization fund. We have seen the increase in those SACCO receipts. So this year's growth is actually to be driven by that government expenditure also then trickling into the economy. But what we've seen come out is the fact that, yes, we had budgeted for increases in capital expenditures, but when we are looking into what is going to happen, we've seen the finance minister tabling his medium-term budget review framework last week. You know, stating that there is a bit of a slow start in terms of other major capital projects, which we expected were going to be the major source of growth, which are going to be a contributor to the growth story of Eswatini. So that's where we are right now. We do expect that growth to be driven by that public sector injection into the economy, and we're hoping that was going to move out in time so that it gives us the right multiplier effect. So that's one of the factors that we expect to drive that growth. And then also, you know, we expect the multiplier effect, and we expect as we see more of these pressures in terms of the household sector and the business sector starting to recede, like we're already seeing inflation coming down to 3.6%, to 3.3%. You know, we're seeing the interest rates also going down. So we expect that to boost up demand across the market. So that's where the sources of growth we are expecting. And going forward into 2025, that 8.4% or 8.5% that we are hoping for should actually be driven by mega projects. But if anything, what we are seeing in 2024 is to go by, you know, given that late start, so we might find ourselves getting close to the target in 2025, because late start means now it's going to start next year. So the growth effect that we are going to see this year will then have now to be pushed forward into next year, and hopefully, God willing, we should be able to get enough room in the budget to further finance other mega projects. But we do know that learning from the minister's budget review last week, we do know that we are heading into an era of, a bit of some reduction in SACCO receipts. So I think that's one of the risks that we are seeing, that I'm personally seeing working against us in terms of attaining that 8.4% level in growth. But we should be realistically within that target +2, or within some two standard areas there, around 6 or 5% at most. That's where I would realistically put it, given the macroeconomic indicators and given that it is government expenditure that's supposed to be leading growth, at least in the short to medium term, while we are also seeing those efforts in terms of getting foreign direct investors to come into the country and getting big businesses to come through. But what we need is that component of those mega projects to get the economy going and running again, and then that's going to allow the country to be able to attract more foreign direct investment. So that's where I would see the risk going forward into next year, Mr. Ngoma. But yeah, realistically, we should be around 5.5 to 6% if we are able to hit the 3.6 target this year.
All right, and I'm glad that the report does mention a slow start in implementing mega projects and how critical it is that the timely execution of those projects are achieved for this 2025 growth focused, which, by the way, you are deeming not necessarily feasible. In one word, feasible or not viable, that 8.3. What? Not feasible. You did say 5. Feasible. Okay, good enough. Thank you, Sanele. Thank you for your time. We'll connect some other time and perhaps delve much deeper into this discussion. We have to look at our traffic update for the day when we return from the ad break.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
KBS traffic update nalomuhla ekseni kungu lesibili sabavele basipopolele ngabe umbiko uthini lo mhla ekseni siyabusela.
Angivusele ngihaba yenkosi ngiphinde ngivusele naye umbukeli wemsakazo iSwazi TV.
Kusipha just formbe ngamana ukuthi ngabe nanisasipopolele imigwaqo yethu lomuhla isikhombisana.
Ngihaba yenkosi imigwaqo sesihlolile yonkhana even Eswatini. Lesikunaka konje ukuthi tiba netemgwaqo lapha kamanzini eRiverstone atisebenzi, enhlangano ePosini atisebenzi, embabane letingasebenzi tiba netemgwaqo talapha eLibrary nalapha eChinese Embassy. Ucela ke ukuthi size semaswati lesithathu sisebenzisa lemigwaqo noma letindlela lapho khona kuna letiba netemgwaqo tingasebenzi khona ukuthi bahloniphane phela banikane emathuba ukuze batawufika ngesikhathi labaya khona. Lokunye nasicubeka sihlola yena umgwaqo wethu umsebenzi wakho yena umgwaqo lapha kamanzini umgwaqo wethu lesiwubiza ngokuthi i-Central Distributor Road lapha usuka emangwaneni ubheke khona emathayini usachubeka timpawu temgwaqo-ke soloti khona letibekiwe leticaphelisa bona abashayeli tiphinde tibaphoqelele sicela nje ukuthi bashayeli basahamba kuloyo mgwaqo bachubeke phela nekuhlonipha timpawu temgwaqo letibekiwe kanye netisebenti temgwaqo nasiphinda sichubeka futhi sibheka khona emafutheni lapha emzimphofu ka-Rouse nakhona umsebenzi wakwakho sona sicangco sebantu labahamba ngetinyawo uyachubeka impawu temgwaqo tikhona-ke letibekiwe siyacela ukuthi bashayeli bachubeke nakhona bahloniphe tisebenti temgwaqo netimpawu temgwaqo letibekiwe nasichubeka sibela yona imigwaqo yethu siyanaka ukuthi umgwaqo wethu losuka khona engwenya ubheka khona embabane baningi bantu labahamba ngetinyawo labawela la kungafanele khona lapha kumanzana eSwatini kumaduma embolonjeni nasengwenya village bawela la kungafanele khona khanza ukuthi sebeqa le median bawelela kulele linye lolomunye umzila siyacela ukuthi bashayeli lizinga labo lekucaphela basahamba kulomgwaqo losuka khona engwenya ubheke khona embabane izinga labo lekucaphela libe setulu kakhulu siphinde sicela nabo phela laba labahamba ngetinyawo ukuthi abawele etindzaweni letifanele ungaze ukuthi batikhandise bashayiswe timotolo nasichubeka sibela yona imigwaqo yethu sithe nasithatha umgwaqo lobheka khona eBhunya lapha kaLuseko emhlangene nasemgcozini nalapha kalamgabhi sikhanze ukuthi kunetinkomo siyacela-ke ukuthi bashayeli basahamba kule migwaqo letindzawo lesengitibaleyo ukuthi lizinga labo lekushayela lekucaphela libe ngilesetulu kakhulu nalaba labatawuthi behle namalagwane phela bahamba babheke khona kamanzini nabafika lapha nabenga elangeni babheke khona babheke kalozitha izinga labo sicela ukuthi lekucaphela libe setulu kakhulu nakhona tinkomo tikhona letibonakele tingako lesinato namuhla ngabayenkosi
Tidle khwange kweselumelo siyabonga kakhulu Ngqamane sithembe ukuthi bachube betimotolo batawucaphela leto tsikabetelo soti vetile kanjalo ke nalabahamba emigwaqweni babeketelela labachubha imotolo lapho khona ingasebenzi khona ke ma traffic lights sibahlolela make testa ubuya netindzaba tesingisi.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Now, English news, His Excellency Russell Miso Dlamini has joined the people of Asante for dinner in celebration of 100 years since King Nana Agemang Prempeh I returned from exile in the Seychelles. This event was hosted by His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the King of the Asante people, His Royal Highness Prince Lindani, Prince Simelane, and President of the Seychelles, His Excellency Wavell Ramkalawan. This event has been held at Maiya Palace in Kumasi, Ghana.
At the dinner, relations between Ghana and the Seychelles were strengthened, and it was said that they would last for a lifetime. This is because the people of Seychelles gave love and a home to King Prempeh I when exiled in that country before his return to Ghana 100 years ago.
And his life and legacy also tells us how individuals can forge huge relationships, even unwittingly. Today, we are hosts to the President and the First Lady of the Republic of Seychelles. The center in the Seychelles has meant that people of Seychelles the people of Ghana are linked and bonded together for all time to come. We We have a lot to give to each other. And when we do so, we always will remember the life, the sacrifice, and the legacy of the Prempeh Bushras.
His Majesty King Otumfu Osiye Tutu II, King of the people of Asante, thanked Eswatini for showing true brotherhood to the people of Ashanti by attending the ceremony.
Kingdom of Eswatini, once known as Swaziland, or the Switzerland of Africa, is the only constitutional monarchy in Sub-Saharan Africa. King Eswatini assigned his prime minister, the head of government, the two of his princes, all the ministers in the government, to represent him at the commemoration of the return of King Prempeh Professor. They have come to honor the reality of African history, the brotherhood of African kingdoms, and their common exploits from colonial adversity for the free states we have today. We do not invent history. We are made of history, like all the great empires and kingdoms of Africa's glorious past. The Eswatini knows the shape of the brotherhood.
His Excellency, the Prime Minister Russell Dlamini, sent regards from Eswatini to the people of Asante.
Majesty, the King of Eswatini has very fond memories of you because of the time that you spent together with him in your last visit, which you made several years ago. And he has committed to return his kind gesture by visiting you here in your kingdom in the very near future. Your Majesty, I do wish to convey King Eswatini III, the Queen Mother, the government, and the people of the Kingdom of Eswatini would like to wish you best wishes as we celebrate these 100 years of the return of Nana Akema Prempeh I, the Asante Ene, from his period of exile in the Seychelles.
The Premier, who was representing His Majesty King Mswati III, said Eswatini and Ghana have to forge stronger relations for the benefit of the people of both nations. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, Kumasi, Ghana.
His Excellency Russell Lemiso Dlamini, His Royal Highness Prince Lindani and Prince Simelane joined the people of Asante for a special Thanksgiving service to mark the centenary return of King Otumfuwa Ayemang Prempeh I. The service was held at the St. Cyprian's Anglican Cathedral in Kumasi, Ghana. The service was followed by a lunch St. Maia Palace, where King Otumfuwa Osei Tutu II danced with his people as well as his guests.
This special Thanksgiving service was attended by King of the people of Asante, His Majesty Otumfu Osiye Tutu II. The word of God was shared by Seychelles President, His Excellency Wavel Ramkalawan, who is also a priest. His Excellency Prime Minister Russell Dlamini, His Royal Highness Prince Lindani, and Prince Simelane had Holy Communion. The King of the Asante people and members of the royal family were prayed for and given blessings during the service. After the service, King Otumfu Osiye Tutu II and his guests proceeded to have lunch at the Manhia Palace. He said he was eagerly waiting for His Majesty King Mswati III to visit Kumasi as he had visited Eswatini 9 years ago. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosima Vimbela, Kumasi, Ghana.
The acting Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Jane Simelane, has officially launched the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign. Speaking at the launch, Honorable Jane Simelane says that the government has invested in the fight against gender-based violence through a lot of initiatives that are aimed at eliminating poverty. Simelane says these initiatives include providing funds as well as training of Eswatini to start businesses, thereby addressing the root cause of gender-based violence, which is poverty. Simelane made these remarks during the launch held in Mbabane.
The 2024 campaign is under the theme Together Let's End Gender-Based Violence, which has been launched with a call for collective action. Speaking during the event, the acting Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Jane Simelane says that government has established various funds aimed at addressing gender-based violence with a focus on eliminating poverty as a contributing factor.
Government has launched a number of employment creation initiatives in the country so that we can fight issues of poverty, because we've realized that some of the main causes of GBV is caused by poverty. So we have a number of programs in the country, skills training and institutions providing skills at a cost. Some of them, they are free, but we still see issues of GBV in persistent.
United Nations Resident Coordinator George Wachira highlighted that gender-based violence is a global issue and not unique to Eswatini.
The words and command of His Majesty King Mswati III, urging the nation to rise against GBV, echo the very, very same command and determination that once made Eswatini a global leader in the fight against HIV/AIDS.
Kirsten Mecklenburg, the European Union's ambassador to Eswatini, says the EU has supported several initiatives in Eswatini aimed at combating gender-based violence and empowering young men.
This year's launch of the 16 Days campaign takes place at a time when we read so much in the media about the growing scourge of GBV in Eswatini. Every day we see newspaper headlines of women perishing, often in the most brutal and horrific manner, in the hands of their intimate partners.
The government has also launched a number of campaigns involving different sectors to educate the public, and shelters are being established to provide support for abused women and girls. The Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Mbabane.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development, Kusile Mlangeni, I beg your pardon, says it is important for the country to align its development agenda with that of countries in the SADC region so as to ensure that the kingdom attains sustainable development. The Principal Secretary said this when officially opening a 5-day workshop where government officials as well as non-state parties are being capacitated in resource mobilization, among others. The Principal Secretary was represented by the Director of the SADC Integration Unit, Tobile Dlamini.
The National Development Plan 2023-2028 identifies optimization of regional integration opportunities as one of the strategies for achieving the national vision. Eswatini is a land-linked country, as we are all aware, with a population of slightly above 1 million. We cannot develop on our own. We need to cooperate and form strategic partnerships with neighboring countries and the entire region at large. With this realization, we requested support from the Strengthening National Regional Linkages Program to build on capacity on the subject of regional integration, to improve our understanding and build skills in order to be more effective in our regional integration aspirations. We selected highly experienced experts with experience not only in the country, but also in the region. I therefore urge you to participate fully throughout the week and utilize the expertise in the House.
Bus drivers and bus operators have voiced their support for the protection of women and girls in Eswatini by committing to staying away from being perpetrators of gender-based violence. This is part of their commitment to the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
The Kingdom of Eswatini, along with the global community, is commemorating the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Eswatini journalists visited the Manzini bus rank, an area that in the past had seen numerous cases of women being abused by bus conductors and drivers. We asked bus conductors and operators for their thoughts and feelings on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence.
Ngoba labo make Nkosi yami ngibona labasiletha la emhlabeni Nkosi. Inkinga lekhona kakhulu nasisi wami ngokuthi kula marriage lesinawo nya labo sisi bathanza imali kakhulu kunakuqala.
Many expressed that it's their responsibility to protect women and girls. However, some argued that gender-based violence is caused by dishonesty among women who ask for assistance or money, but later disappoint the men, leading to anger and frustration. Others claimed that gender undermining the masculinity of men, causing emotional hurt that often manifest as violence. The government of Eswatini has launched several initiatives under the Nkwe Directive, including the Gender-Based Violence Elimination Plan for 2023 to 2024. The Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
The Minister of ICT, Senator Savannah Mazia, says the use of artificial intelligence can help Eswatini transition to a knowledge-based economy and address socio-economic challenges. The minister has said this during the Kingdom of Eswatini Academy of Science Conference on AI, where she was represented by the ministry's Under-Secretary, Makanjana Mota.
In her remarks, the Minister of ICT highlighted the importance of science, technology, and innovation, specifically artificial intelligence, for sustainable development in Eswatini. She encouraged investment in research and highlighted future strategies to harness AI to drive economic growth.
The enactment of the 2023 National Research Council Act, which is key in establishing a National Research Council, an institution which is envisaged to coordinate research and innovation activities across the country. These initiatives, ladies and gentlemen, are crucial as we face the transformative power of artificial intelligence. Once confined to the realm of science fiction, AI is now a tangible force reshaping industries, economies, and societies. It is imperative that we harness this power for the betterment of our people and our planet.
Vice President of the Kingdom of Eswatini Academy of Sciences, Dr. Wisdom Dlamini, highlights that though artificial intelligence is fairly new in Eswatini, there is a greater need for collaboration.
We are hopeful that in the next coming years, AI will be widespread, will be widely applied in Eswatini, particularly on those key sectors of the economy that the country is focusing on, like agriculture, like manufacturing, and of course our education sector, in the environment sector, where such applications are proving to be quite useful from what we see locally in other parts of the world.
Vice President of the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industries in Eswatini, Bonke Mota, says artificial intelligence has made it easier for SMEs to operate.
So with AI, we got that leverage of actually now you can actually brainstorm and research about the idea you want to go to before you even invest anything into it.
In efforts to enhance the national systems of innovation, the ministry has enacted the 2023 National Research Council Act, the Royal Science and Technology Park Act of 2023, and the Bioeconomy Strategy of 2018 that ensures the sustainable use of Eswatini's natural resources. Reporting, I am Notile Sitole with Tabiso Mapanga in Ezulwini.
Vice-Chancellor of the University of Eswatini, Professor Justice Twala, says it's about time that AI is fully integrated into the teaching and learning discourse in tertiary institutions. Twala has said this during the AI Indaba hosted by the Kingdom of Eswatini Academy of Sciences earlier on Monday in Ezulwini.
We are very much honored that today we are discussing the topic of artificial intelligence and its use in socio-economic development because that's the direction and these are the trends. So the University of Eswatini and the country through the Ministry of ICT is gearing itself to prepare a framework for the utilization of artificial intelligence because it has both good and bad intentions sometimes It can be used for hacking, that people can steal funds from mobile phones, can steal funds even from the banking industry. So basically, we do need to have a framework in place. Indeed, the country will be putting in place a legislation to protect data so that artificial intelligence cannot be abused by unbecoming citizens. It is quite a very good tool going forward that the country needs.
On international news, the number of people killed in Sudan's civil war is far higher than previously thought, according to new research. Now, the conflict has forced 11 million people to flee their homes and has created the world's worst hunger crisis.
Khartoum's residential streets are lined with hundreds of graves. Cemeteries have run out of space.
The numbers of dead became really big. We bury at least 50 people per day. These are all fresh bodies.
Sudan's civil war erupted in April 2023, a brutal power struggle between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. An estimate widely used by international aid agencies said just over 20,000 civilians had died from the violence in the first 14 months of the war. But a new study from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine looked at multiple sources and suggests the death rate is much higher. Maysoon Dahab is lead author of the report.
In the first 14 months of the war, there has been a 50% increase in the death rate in Khartoum state alone. That amounts to about 61,000 deaths due to disease, starvation, and directly from the violence itself. Amongst that 61,000, we have about 26,000 who have been killed directly by violence.
Separately, the aid group Doctors Without Borders says that since January this year, 1 in 6 of its patients at a Khartoum hospital were children under 15. Many sustained severe injuries from gunshots, blasts and shrapnel. There's also been a rise in cases of severe malnutrition among children. The United Nations says the conflict has forced 11 million people to flee their homes, with some 25 million people, half of Sudan's population, needing food aid, making it the world's biggest hunger crisis. It's vital that more is done to end the suffering, says Dahab.
So in the case of the international community, ensuring the understanding that aid efforts need to be increased, scaled, and put out to inaccessible populations. In terms of actors who are shaping the war, what we hope to put out in terms of the research is the true price of this war, so that they are able to make their decision based on those facts.
The United States Special Envoy for Sudan, Thomas Perriello, travelled to Khartoum last week for talks with Sudan's army chief.
We also share the aspiration for this war to end as soon as possible, to see an end to the horrific atrocities.
There are few signs that either the Sudanese army or the Rapid Support Forces are ready to agree a truce. Meanwhile, Russia last week vetoed a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire, saying the process excluded Sudan itself. Britain, which sponsored the resolution alongside Sierra Leone, labelled Moscow's veto a disgrace.
Namibia is preparing for its 7th presidential and National Assembly elections since gaining independence 34 years ago. Now, with the ruling SWAPO party facing potential shifts in support, a lot is expected to happen. The November 27 election marks a milestone as SWAPO fields its first female presidential candidate, Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, who could become Africa's 3rd female president. There's a report.
Coming off the back of its most disappointing showing since Namibia attained independence in 1990, the ruling party, SWAPO, is hoping to cement its position, leading the government when the country holds elections on Wednesday. SWAPO, which has ruled Namibia since independence, lost in 2019 its two-thirds majority in parliament, which is needed to pass laws. Kadiva Hamutumwa is the president of the Namibia Exile Kids Association, NECA, an affiliate of the ruling party. She says the party has done enough work to regain its majority.
Throughout the 40 regions, as we were traveling explaining this manifesto, people exported, they had understood the achievements that the SWAPO party has gained. They had equally understood the challenges that they've had. But there is low democracy that is growing as a nation that does not change.
The most recent census places Namibia's estimated population at just over 3 million. Of those, 1.4 million are registered voters. Many parties in recent weeks have been hard at work mobilizing voters, mostly made up of young people, to cast their votes. Manuel Ngaringombe is the Secretary General of the People's Democratic Movement, or PDM, which is the official opposition in the country.
We have sell our manifesto. People are reacting, people want to vote, people want change, and we believe that change is exactly going to come and Namibia will not be the same. So we are ready to go to the polls, hoping that the Electoral Commission of Namibia is also very ready.
Earlier this month, members of the police and defense force who will be on duty on voting day cast their votes across the country. Namibians in the diaspora also voted, with results showing a lead for SWAPO. New parties taking part in their maiden elections, the Independent Patriots for Change, or IPC, and the Affirmative Repositioning, AR movement, came second and third respectively. Job Amupanda is the leader of the AR movement. He applauded the Electoral Commission of Namibia for peaceful elections, free from violence and intimidation.
We actually think that those people who fight are very primitive and we haven't had that experience. Do we want to compare it to other countries? And we see what is happening in Mozambique, and we can't guarantee what's going to happen.
21 political parties are vying for seats in the National Assembly. 15 candidates are vying for the country's presidency. Among those vying for the presidency is Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, the only female candidate on the ballot and the ruling party's candidate, who will become Africa's third female head of state if SWAPO retains its long-held position of ruling party.
The United States Environmental Protection Agency will soon have a new administrator. Former lawmaker Lee Zeldin has been nominated by President-elect Donald Trump for that role.
Lee Zeldin is a former four-term Republican congressman from New York State and a longtime supporter of President-elect Donald Trump. Zeldin is poised to become the next administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The 44-year-old holds a law degree from Albany Law School and served 4 years on active duty in the U.S. Army. He's married and has twin daughters. In a statement released on November 11th, Trump announced Zeldin's nomination, saying the former congressman will, quote, unleash the power of American businesses while at the same time maintaining the highest environmental standards. Zeldin told Fox News he is excited to implement Trump's economic agenda.
There are regulations that the left wing of this country have been advocating through regulatory power that ends up causing businesses to go in the wrong direction.
Under Democratic President Joe Biden's administration, the EPA has prioritized the production of clean and renewable power and put restrictions on oil and gas production in a bid to curb toxic emissions and fight climate change. President-elect Trump envisions a different formula.
We will blast through every bureaucratic hurdle to issue rapid approvals for new drilling, new pipelines, new refineries, new power plants, new electric plants, and reactors of all types.
Zeldin voiced similar positions when he unsuccessfully ran for governor of New York in 2022.
We should reverse the state's ban on the safe extraction of natural gas and approve new pipeline applications.
Zeldin's nomination comes as the United Nations renewed its call on countries to move away from fossil fuels to combat global warming.
The sound you hear is the ticking clock. We are in the final countdown to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. and time is not on our side.
Even as climate change regulations are expected to be scaled back at the federal level under Zeldin's leadership, analysts note that currently states can choose to enact their own regulations, and consumers can individually opt for green solutions.
On our sports news, Mbabane Swallows Football Club has been officially handed over to Princess Lungile Gametse by the outgoing management committee led by Chairman Welile Mabuza. The handover took place at Thokoza. Mbabane, there's a report.
Two factions of the Mbabane Swallows Football Club, the outgoing management committee and the incoming management committee, met today at Thokoza to discuss the legal transfer of the team to Princess Lungile Gametse. During the meeting, the faction that had been leading Mbabane Swallows left in disagreement with the representative sent by Mage Gametse. Absalom Ngwenya, who had been acting as the club president, stated that while they have handed over the team to Mage Gametse, there are certain things they cannot relinquish, such as the team bus, the players' clubhouse.
Imbabane Swallows kubo le management yabo bani yabo ayisekho kithi sekule nange chairman wabo Joel Hleko ibhansi zayithatha yethu ibhansi yethu clubhouse zayithatha.
Duduzi Hlope, representing Mage Gametse, acknowledged receiving the team but noted that there are still many issues to discuss. He expressed confidence that the faction previously leading the team will not let the club down, as they are also supporters of Mbabane Swallows Football Club.
Khona laselivele appointiwe lengasho lokho ukuthi ngilo nyalo lesibuke ama affairs e-team ngekukhulumisana ngophela umuntu lophume itolo ngumhlonelwadi ngeke ungayiphindze yothathela kuye akusite lokusilendlela iba kanjani so sata ukukhulumisana nalo lelibandla lelihandovile njalo sengishito kukhona lo ngathi kusesele lapha nalapha there are loose ends that we need to tie up and I think that will be done. Umsebenzi ke awuphumeleli ngalanga linye nje kuthina ushaywa aba seamless no.
Kingsley Kwaikwi, speaking on behalf of the players, emphasized the importance of the team preparing for the upcoming match against Royal Leopard this coming weekend.
I'm standing in for the players and we don't have a lot to say because if you say something maybe it will favor team B or team A. So what we want them to know that what is going on is affecting the players. So anything they want to do, they should do it fast.
Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini. Mbabane.
And that marks the end of our English news. Let's go for a net break and we'll be back shortly.
kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula
nathi kufuna sende ukukhicita lokusebenzisa.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast. Sivusela na olosanza kusivulela umsebenzi ke wekugupa noma komkhankaso wamalanga la-16 wekucetha kuhlobetana ngetebulili 16 days of activism against gender-based violence was officially launched itolo lihhovisi eliphina ndvunankulu libambisene netinhlangosi letiningi letitsinsekako etindzabeni le-gender-based violence. Kunenge lokukhulunyiwe ngalolu lusuku kanye-ke netinombolo nesimo noma ke status lesikiso ngato tindzaba te-gender-based violence. Lenye indzaba ivelile ngiyo indzaba yokuthi bantfwana nabo bayatikhanza bahlukubeteka ikakhulukati labo labaphila noma ke labo labaphuyile noma ke labatsingile, vulnerable children. I'm joined by the Communications and Campaign Manager ka World Vision Eswatini Lungile Zwana kuzivetela nje sithombe sokuthi bantfwana laba basitako noma laba bahlangabeta ngetidzingo labahlukubetekile ngitiphi tinhlelo labanato njenga World Vision. Asivusele Lungile siyabonga ukuthi bona silomhla ekseni kepha nje singakangeni kuma projects leno implementako as a World Vision kumbe kusivetela nje sithombe selanga la itolo. The campaign was officially launched by the DPM's office na UN nama stakeholders lamaningi kepha ke umsebenzi ubese uqhubekela khona emhlaleni lapho khona benicocisana nesive kuva imivo yaso ukuthi ingabe indzaba ye-GBV singayicatulula kanjani. Take us through nje langa la itolo sihambe kanjani.
Okay, ngibingelelwe mbukeli, ngibingelele nawe Lulu, and thank you for the opportunity. So itolo, as you've mentioned, sibe ne roadside campaign where we had police being part of the campaign, as you've mentioned, and other partners, but coordinated by ministry, Deputy Prime Minister's office. Inhloso kakhulukati bekukuthi sikhone kuthi si raise awareness. As you know, 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is really about raising awareness about GBV, as sibona ukuthi into lendlondlobalako every day ufundza paper. You find someone has killed someone, and usually ma intimate relationships. So let's just stop traffic and engage and cause that stir and raise awareness around tindzaba te-GBV and really engage even labantu labahamba kolamgwaqweni, road traffic users, pedestrians, anyone we came across, we would engage, share information ukuthi yini vele gender-based violence, because lomunye maybe uyagwenda and doesn't even realize, because there are many forms of gender-based violence. So lokuthi nje babe nale understanding yokuthi yini, but also nanabo ba share my views. How do they think we can stop this? yini labakhala ngako nabo.
Yeah. So I saw in one of the newspapers ukuthi bafana noma ngemadvotes akhala ngokuthi ima demands girlfriend allowance sekasetulu kakhulu. Mhlambe ngimiphi nje leminye imivo lenitfolile itolo nanisaqhubeka nale roadblock.
Yeah, Lulu, I think that one, about girlfriend allowance, is one of many issues. Maybe not so much leguti funa keep girlfriend allowance. They do feel like it's a little bit of an abuse. However, I think the biggest challenge is when so spend so much money on you. How do you think the person feels? Vele khona la lomunye kutawuvuka kukwata kuthi I've invested so much in this person. Maybe umala because sojola with somebody else. So there's male ego nje iyalimala, but there's also a feeling of betrayal. Kuningi loku involved lokungamendu umuntu react in any way. I'm not saying it's right, but lokuthi sikubuke kuthi vele what lead to what in the long term. But other issues ngiko kona lokuthi I think they often say labanda research around that kuthi males love language yabo is respect, and for women it's love. So for a man, if umkhombisa it disrespect, it's like the biggest form of angathi uyamlimata kakhulu, which is why bakhala ngalo kuthi ke thine maye siyabathethisa maye sikhuluma sinomanjani asibahloniphi nje asibathi usibayini. So for men, they are feeling emasculated in a way, and it's a reaction. Kuningi leti stress that everybody's going through out there. Ngaba kuthi bantu balahlekelwa imisebenzi. We know what came with COVID. We know the current economic situation nje globally. So a lot of people balahlekelwa imisebenzi, business awile. There are a lot of issues lenda, stress levels are high. Even imisebenzi nje, even if you are sebenda, stress levels are high. So kuningi lo, people are going through a lot. And if sekuba the added stresses seguna these other issues maybe so your intimate partner say because if you see kakhulu vele, it's usually around intimate partners like iba high kakhulu GBV, and then it spills over to children because labanye sabalayana nangalabantwana maybe ngidambulala lo mfana just kukulaya or ngimshaye, or there's a lot that's happening. Lebese, unfortunately, children are the ones who suffer even when they lose a parent. Someone. The children are the ones who suffer the most.
Yes, speaking of children, focus yet for violence in children, violence lendeka ebantwaneni. Ingabe vele mhlambe vele sisinjani nje sithombe se violence lendeka abantwana. We have child-headed homesteads. You see nebantwana labashiya abadala basesebancane due to COVID naletingeke tizathu. So bakhanza bahlukubedekile ngekuthi bafuna ukuthenga ukudla, bafuna ukuya esikoleni, bafuna impahla, sabathatha khanza assessments ukuthi bahlukubede kakhulu kati ngumuntu lomdzala. Engabe anganani ma cases mhlambe leni yeni wabone ezinisenda umsebenzi oningi World Vision?
So maybe ngabuki in particular our work with World Vision maybe ngdaw share a little bit around that, but in general violence against children survey le yendiwe ngihulumende recently, I think 2022, it shows ukuthi usually by the age of 18 ukanza ukuthi roughly over 1 in 20 females has experienced sexual violence in particular. But beyond there's sexual violence, but there are many other forms of violence la khona. Ukanza ukuthi children are suffering, especially mawukhuluma ngebantwana laba neglected, because some of these vulnerable children, one parent is there, uyaphila out there, but balahlile nje, either babashiyena gogo soshonile kwayena sebasele bodwa abantwana. But there is a parent out there, Lopila, who's neglecting. So we find, Gutsi, in our work, we find Gutsi neglect is actually the highest form of violence because we classify it as a form of violence against children. And then there's also sexual violence is the second highest. In one of our data from one of our projects, which is funded by USAID. So Guleyo project you find good see sexual violence. I think in cases less dilena over 1,548. 635 were neglect. Sexual violence followed at 579 cases, with then emotional and other cases following physical violence as well and other forms. But we are good see the sexual violence and physical violence is high. And with males, males, you usually find good see most of them bavamsile good see experience a physical violence, usually from caregiver, parent, the male child. Yes, yes. So bantwaneni laba males kakhulu ngibo lokhanza ukuthi ba experience kakhulu le physical violence. I think I'm sure you've seen it where it's like umfana uthathwa ukuthi ufuna akhombise kuba, so it's from peers, but le violence ukuthi from ema peers akhe nje sekuyashaywana yabo, even their play igcina seyine violence occurs, and you think badlala, but it escalates and then it ends up being violence because there's always that bullying also involved. But also even from uncles, parents, they experience quite a bit of violence, more than physical violence, more than girls. But girls kakhulu less sexual violence.
From SWAC, I think my reports in Jaswaka these perpetrators, it's actually people that they know, Aksima strangers, about 2% Kubangama strangers.
Yes.
So how long does it take for Labamfana to come out and actually bash Oguti they're being sexually violated?
It's a bit tricky because obviously if Malume is sexually abusing me and he's the provider like I, or even maybe it's my father, usually baba they have difficulty. But even if the child speaks, sometimes so that in itself becomes an issue. And we thought the issue had been kind of dealt with, or at least we felt like everybody's been raising
so
awareness around it, but
country.
it's still a problem. Okay. And apart from Gutsi, maybe there's a fear Gutsi Lomuntu is providing, but there's also this thing of protecting Gutsi Gulhlazo, yabo. Yet this child will continue suffering, or another child will go through the same cycle just because you failed to deal with Lomuntu from the very start. So it's a huge problem as well. I think Emma nang vele you find Gutsi intimate partner relationships, as I've mentioned, relatives and others logu kanza Gutsi guba more cases leswabonago achamuka from those people. So yabona ukuthi it's people who are your intimate partner is somebody very close, you know. If it's a family member or a relative, it's somebody you know. So sometimes maybe it may be at school, but rarely is it somebody nje lo akusuka lapha esigangeni utihambela and assault you or even sexually abuse you.
Yeah. So nini basita kanjani ke labamfana, especially laba labahlala bodwa lama child headed homesteads, ingabe ummango noma ke society ngakhona kusita kanjani isine bagcugcuteli emakhaya sinabo chief nesinetindvuna sinabo buchopho, ingabe labamfulabo bangakhona kumsita kanjani umfana labambona ukuthi kwangathi uyahlubeteka indlela thita.
So as part of umsebenzi wethu, as I said, sinale project yakusasa ngelethu, which is an HIV prevention project for adolescent girls and young women, and we also have another project called Halting the Spread of HIV, funded by Congo through Global Fund, or rather by Global Fund through Congo. So lama projects lawo ane component lenkulu lebuke tindzaba te gender-based violence, and the activities la involved vele ayabafaka kakhulu i-community leadership and raising awareness in the community nekuthi they have to play a role kakhulu njenyalo we're pushing ukuthi we'd like ukuthi kube nema bylaws even in communities developed by the community with the leadership, where umuntu will be dealt with if found to be having any, or conducting any form of violence against children or anybody for that matter. Kube yinto nje ukuthi there's zero tolerance in our community for this, and if when they logo, this is what happens, and babe aware. So we feel like that would be a huge deterrent, because community leadership influence learning in how the community kind of behaves, especially at Infenlen Jangalet. So we also work with we work with other community structures in Jelakona to raise awareness. We have what we call home visitors who visit these children, and this is where usually they unearth lama issues ukanza ukuthi sekuyavela ukuthi there's neglect, kuyavela ukuthi there's sexual violence lakhaya, there's this and that. So we work kakhulu with community structures, and we find ukuthi bese baba referred through them for support after that. And we, one of our projects even goes beyond that, and ensuring ukuthi if there's a need for legal aid to prosecute the perpetrator, we support that. So linhloso kakhulu is that there must be justice at the end of the day mangabe kwendekile, but our biggest goal is to prevent.
Yeah. So kuyafika inesimeni lapho khona mhlawumbe ngikubambisana nawo lama organizations lo so wabalile ukuthi kufike la ekuthenini saleni vele nike telhovisi liphina nivona kakhulu ukuthi abamfana bayiswe kuma safe houses la khona lapha even.
So yeah, siyasebenta, actually we do refer to social welfare under DPM's office. We also work nemaphoyisa, as I've said. So siyasebenzisana nabo where it's necessary umfana athole usizo and be moved away from that unsafe environment. However, you do know, Guti, I think institutionalization of children is the last resort. You try to find other relatives where the child may be safe, but obviously, I think siyasebenzisana kakhulu ne social welfare lab.
Yeah. All right. So during the 16 days, with visiting bus rank, for the duration of the 16 days, activities
yeah, guningana nje will be raising awareness in various ways. Lokufaka ekhathi kuba nema awareness sessions kuma communities, as I've said, we want to engage the community leadership, rural health motivators and others babe part of lama activities too, but also understand the need to be available for that, but also other activities out of Kati, having awareness sessions, bus rank, and engaging labantu labalas kakhulukati siyasikubone lokunye. Let's maybe we don't take it as GBV again, where boputi bethu la bus rank bakuharase nje as a female just passing by, which is gender-based violence naleyo. And ngicabanga ukuthi a lot of people have been educated, but akusibo bonke kusekhona lokuharaseka lokuba khona. So we do want to raise awareness sibe khona kuleto tindzawo leto, and we'll be on radio as well, and just sharing information and raising awareness and providing services where necessary. And in asetikolweni ke siyaya to again continue engaging, and that's where we usually unearth a lot of issues. Once you've raised awareness and left numbers where they can actually report cases ukhanza-ke ukuthi bese uyababona lapho baba baningi bantwana la bese ema-cases la bese yavela bawa-report.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think speaking of raise awareness, I think uthi indzaba nje le crucial ukuthi vele nale gender based violence asisiko clear kahle ngayo ukuthi iyini. Ukhuluma ngendzaba yokuthi e-bus rank nje vele iyendeka kanenge mhlambe baholele bo drivers sabakushayela inkwela sithi yini vele kahle le gender based violence ngoba umuntu ukushaya ngetibuno sokuhlubetile vele iyini vele kahle.
Yeah, so there are many forms of gender-based violence, as I've said, because neglect, which lokunganaki nje financially unaka umfana bakho ushiyile njena, and that is violence against whether it's a child or your wife or spouse or whoever. But there's also kufaka ekhathi sexual violence, kufaka emotional violence, physical violence. And sexual violence, there are many components under it. Akusi ukuthi start sexual violence ngekuthi uze wangirape. The fact that umshaya tibun noma ngiyatengcela wagreba libele lami, that is sexual violence. The fact that bitangani like uyatengcela ubathi umvyashwe better so yakhomba ukuthi I'm so uncomfortable and bachubeka that is violation. Okay. Yes, so there are many forms within konke, it forms part of the sexual violence. So gender based, and usually obvious it's usually the opposite sex nangizalo, and not to say ukuthi bafana bona kwendeki or males nabo, it's just that I think encumbeni esikhathi abak-report because uva ngathi yabo yeah. There's a friend of mine some years back wangitshela how some women bam left her and they were trying to actually drug him at some point because bam invite her. But then they offered some drinks and and that's when he just realized something is wrong and ran out. But the intention was what? So nakuba it happens, it's just that maybe men are less likely to feel like, okay, I can report this.
Right, so thank you so much. Lungile bekunguye Communications and Campaign Manager ku World Vision Eswatini kusivetela nje sithombese ukuthi linganani lizinga lakuhlubeteka ikakhulukazi kubantwana mhlambe lesingathi bathingile noma ke baphuyile nokuthi World Vision abambisene netinhlangano letiningi babasita kanjani labantwana laba kepha ke maka bekhona ofisa ukubika umgcugcuteli ubuchopho noma ke just a member of the public ukukhona kuhlubeteka lofuna ukubika lokubonako kwendeka emangweni, do not hesitate ukuthi uxhumane nemaphoyisa noma ke obviously leliphini landvuna nkhulu asibahle ukuthi makethe stop esahlela.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sivile sive sikhulume.
All right, it's 3 minutes before 8 o'clock. Siyalivala lihlelo lomhla ekusenzisana ukuthi kuningi nenifundzile solo sikuye 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. So yena siqinisekise ukuthi uyakureport akuhlubeta lobona kwendeka ikakhulukazi emakhaya kuma childhood and homesteads kuningi abantwana labadibana nako ngesizathu sokuthi bafuna kulala badlile but khanza sebahlubeteka ngesizathu sokuthi bafuna nje kati angalali tiko. So yeah, do report whatever violation that is happening around your area.
In fact, it goes beyond the 16 days itself, but we are amplifying the story right now, this particular topic. Otherwise, this is the end of our program today. Do have yourself a beautiful and blessed day. Salamat.